Hey guys, what is going on? It is Gear and here, and in today's video we are going to be creating our very own Dragonslayer tier list. Now these are going to be including some of the Dragonslayers that we have seen in Fatal 100 Year Quest as well. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this video, and I might make some more tier lists in the future if you do like this video, of course. But sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this video. So let's get right into our first pick, which is Irene. So Irene, she is of course the queen of the Dragonslayers. She was the very first Dragonslayer in existence. So technically she should be a high ranking, would you say? Well, from of course the power that we've seen from her in Fatal Final Series, she really didn't show much of her own power. We did see of course her use like enchantment magic and of course switching bodies with Wendy and everything. We saw that type of magic, but we really didn't see her own dragon slaying magic. We just saw enchantment magic, which really anybody could use. So for that, I would say she was not S, she's not A. See, for me of course, since she is technically still the queen of the Dragonslayers, and she did of course create them, I'd put her at B ranking, just because we've not really seen much of her power in the Fatal Final Series, and we didn't get a chance to see her dragon slaying magic. Next, who do we have? Well, we have the boy Acnologia, killer of all dragons, and literally he has destroyed, he has killed, and he's just been one of the most OP Fatal characters ever. But what rank does he deserve to be in here? Well, some of you of course straight away think S. I'm leaning a little bit towards A, but given of course Acnologia's history, about his past, about what he has gone through and the amount of power that he has, he deserves the S ranking for me, just because he has been such an OP influence in Fatal. Literally, he was the one that could not be killed, the one that was impossible for anyone, and I mean anyone, to kill. So he deserves that S rank place on the tier list. Next, we've got Wendy. So Wendy Marvel, a Sky Dragon Slayer. She of course has made quite an impact in the Fatal series of course. She has a lot of air magic of course, and she has been very useful, and technically she's one of the only ones that's been able to control her dragon force, because we've seen her use it multiple times in Fatal Final Series after the training arc of course, and it looks like she is actually very good, and she's also at such a high level of enchantment that when she of course gets older, she'll easily surpass Irene. So just for that of course, we're not taking of course into the future into account, we're just taking of course what we know up to now. So I would say Wendy, you deserve a solid A for me, just because she's been such an impact in the Fatal series. She's helped the crew so much through so many times, she deserves that A ranking for me. Next, we've got Cobra, a former member of the Oracion Sace. He is the Poison Dragon Slayer, and let's just say of course, he has been not very impactful. His, let's just say, story wasn't really shown after the Oracion Sace arc, and really as a Dragon Slayer, he was like a third generation where he got it from a Lacrima, and it was a pity that we didn't see much about his power or anything. Even though the character himself is very funny, is a very memorable character, for me, it doesn't seem that he deserves a high ranking. So I would say for this one, he should go into the C tier. Just because, for me anyway, Cobra, he had the potential to have such a big impact, and he had the potential to move possibly to B or A. But just what we've seen so far in the Fatal series, I would say he goes into the C tier. Next, who do we have? Well, we have the main man himself, Laxus Dreyer. So Laxus, again, he is a lightning dragon slayer, a third generation just like Cobra, who got his dragon slayer magic from a Lacrima. He of course is a badass in the series. He is literally one of the most OP characters for me in Fatal Final Series, and he is such a badass because he is literally like that older brother for me in the Fatal series, and literally he's helped everyone through so much. Yes, at the beginning he did have a very bad start where he didn't care about family or friends, but then he started to improve himself. He started to become much more of a better person, and literally in Fatal Final Series he was so OP, but sadly he did get nerfed just because let's just say the poison from the Tartarus arc did lower his power and potential when he was fighting in the Fairy Tail final series. So that will have an impact, I would say. So thinking about the tier list, does Laxus deserve to be in the B tier? Well, no, just because I believe he also belongs in the A tier, and I also think he goes past Wendy. Just because I believe Laxus is much more powerful than Wendy, and let's just say Laxus, for me, he has been that stone, that pillar for Fairy Tail, and literally he is one of those badass characters, for me anyway of course, that has really grown throughout the Fairy Tail series, so he definitely deserves that A ranking. So now we're moving on to, let's just say, some Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest Dragonslayers, or dragons you could say. So for these guys, for now, I'm going to put all of these guys into D tier, even though they definitely deserve a high ranking, except for the God Dragon, of course, we know about the God Dragons. I'd say these guys all deserve to go in D tier just because we have seen their appearances, yes. We have seen some of their dragon slaying magic, but compared to the other dragon slayers that we've seen in the past, we've not really seen much of their impact in the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest yet, and we've not even seen their full dragon force as of yet. So for me, just for now, until we see their full potential, all of these guys will be going into the D tier, just for now. And look who we have next. We have Natsu Dragniel, the son of the king of the fire dragons Igniel, and stepbrother to the fire god dragon Ignia. Natsu Dragniel, well, do I have to say any more? He belongs in the S tier. He is a first generation dragon slayer, which means he learned his magic from the dragon king of the fire dragons Igniel, and literally he has made such an impact in Fairy Tail. He is one of the most lovable characters. Do I have to really say more? You guys know Natsu. If you know Fairy Tail, you know who Natsu Dragniel is. So let's not get too much into that. So that's an easy S tier for me. Next, we've got an interesting pick. So we've got Future Rogue. So he of course is, let's just say from the future. He of course came from a future where all the dragons came through the Eclipse portal, and he learned Dragon Slayer magic of course, and he was of course manipulating several dragons so that he could defeat Acnologia, who of course was king of the dragons. He has the power of both light and darkness, so literally he is a combination of Sting and Rogue. He of course is also a third generation Dragon Slayer because he got his Dragon Slayer magic from Lacrima, and let's just say he is very powerful in my eyes just because it took a lot from Natsu just to defeat him, and the fact that Future Rogue could control 7 dragons whilst also fighting at his full power. To me, the crew couldn't even defeat 1 dragon when it was that arc. So really, I would say Future Rogue definitely deserves a high ranking. Is he higher than Irene? Yes, he is. Would you say he's A rank? You know what? I actually would put him in A rank just because he has been a very powerful enemy for the crew. He summoned all of the dragons and he was able to, let's just say, put up such a good fight against Natsu that if Natsu didn't have his uncle of course, which of course was the other fire dragon, Natsu definitely or probably would have lost versus him just because he is such a powerful enemy and he was able to control 7 dragons when nobody in that arc could destroy 1 dragon or even defeat 1 because literally they were too OP. So Future Rogue, you go into the A tier. Next we've got Godjiel. So Godjiel of course, again similar to Laxus, he had a little bit of a bad past where he of course joined the Phantom Guild, which we are getting into in the Fairy Tail review. So if you've not checked those out, of course go check them out because they are great review videos, I would say. So of course Godjiel, he of course is part of the Phantom Guild, but then of course after they were defeated, Godjiel joined Fairy Tail and has become a good guy since. He's got his funny side to him of course. He is definitely a very powerful dragon slayer. However, he has not made much of an impact in the Fairy Tail series for me. He has been there of course for Natsu and for everyone when they did need him of course, and even in the Fairy Tail final series when he joined the Magic Council, that was funny. And he did of course put up a very good battle in the Fairy Tail final series. But I believe comparing him to when he was at the beginning to where he is now, he has made some improvements of course for his personality where he's become a much more better person for me. But power wise I would say no, just because he's not made, let's just say, a lot of impact in the Fairy Tail series. I mean of course he has had his moments with the Levy and everything, and he's a great person, but for me in this Dragonslayer tier list he goes to the B ranking. Now don't roast me in the comments, of course. I know that he deserves much more high ranking than this, and you're saying Wendy is better than Godjiel. Well, I would say Godjiel, he was great at the beginning, he had such a great impact, but he started to fall off for me quite a bit when the series of course was going through, and he did have quite a really good impact. I mean, he was able to destroy his enemies, of course. He risked his own life to save Levi, of course, and let's just say he is a great person. But for me, until I see his Dragon Force again, and for him to of course climb even further, because no offense, Wendy was able to control her Dragon Force in the Fatal Final series, where Godjiel, he only used his mixture, which was the Shadow Steel Dragon. So technically that wasn't even his Dragon Force, so he was able to control that. But actually no, now that I think about it, actually, no, he definitely doesn't deserve in the B tier, he deserves in the A tier. What am I saying? Sorry about that, guys. So Godjiel is definitely an A tier magician, just because. But aside from Wendy and Luxus, Godjiel and Natsu are the only two to combine their magic with a different element. So Natsu of course can use fire plus lightning, whereas Godjiel, he can use shadow and steel magic. So he is a much more powerful ally, and for me of course he deserves that A ranking. So yeah, I don't know what I was talking about there. Sorry about that, guys, something just hit me in the head. So now we move on to Rogue. So Rogue of course is he's a Shadow Dragon Slayer. He of course is a first generation as always, but he at the beginning believed that he actually killed his dragon that raised him and taught him Dragon Slayer magic. So of course he was bad at the beginning, but he of course as time went on, he learned that he actually didn't kill his dragon. The dragons manipulated his memory, so that of course they thought that they'd killed their dragons. So they thought of course that would make them more powerful, but it didn't. So of course Rogue is a Dragon Slayer, of course. He is a Shadow Dragon Slayer, and he has had some moments in the Fatal series, definitely in the Tartarus arc I would say, and in the Fatal Final series not as much, which is quite disappointing given of course how much power he has and how much impact he had during the Grand Magic games specifically, because during the Grand Magic games and even during the Tartarus arc, Rogue was, let's just say, he was really powerful and a great ally to have during those times. And his power, we've seen of course that he did have his dark side with him, which was like the shadow that consumed future Rogue. But Rogue for me, I would say he deserves in the B tier, just because for me in my eyes he's not as good as Wendy, Luxus or even Godjiel, just because even though he can control some of his Dragon Force, to me, in my eyes, of course, he doesn't seem as though he's much more powerful than them, and he's not made much of an impact compared to those. So I would say he definitely belongs in the B tier, and he's definitely more powerful than Irene. So I'd push him, of course, along there. Next, we've got Sting, another first generation Dragon Slayer, and similar to Rogue, of course, he thought that he killed his dragon, but again, of course, he found out that he didn't. He is a light Dragon Slayer, of course, so he uses light magic, and he is the Guildmaster for Sabretooth, which is not an easy thing to do, because if being a guild master of course means you got to be very powerful for your guild, and you got to of course assert your power and also be very helpful to your guild. He is definitely gone through a lot. He of course thought he lost his friend, but he didn't, and let's just say of course he was manipulated quite a bit during the Fatal series, especially of course during the Grand Magic games. He was very helpful of course again in the Tartarus arc, and in the Fatal Final series he did drop off for me a bit, and again, just like Rogue, he didn't show much of his power. So I would say for him, we're going to put him at the B tier, just because for me of course I don't feel as though he's much more powerful, and again, just like Rogue, he had the potential to become much more of an impact in the Fatal series, but sadly we didn't see that much. So now we are moving on to the main event. The main event, which is Ignia, Mercophobia and Selene, the 3 god dragons out of 5. Don't know why Alderon's not here, but then again, that's fine. So let's move on to the first one, which is Ignia, the fire god dragon. He is literally so OP. We saw some, and I mean some of his magic when he was helping Natsu defeat Mercophobia. And let's just say he looks very powerful, and Natsu didn't look like he could even stand a chance versus him, because he seems as though he's much more higher than Agnologia. For me, just based off of course the first appearances and that we've seen some of his power, I would say he definitely deserves an S ranking of course. just because he was able to provide Natsu that little bit of a power up, considering that was probably just a little bit of his own magic. And he helped Natsu defeat Mercphobia, even though he was just giving him like a little bit of a, let's just say, a power boost using his own magic. And I can't wait to see, of course, more about it. And Ignea, the Fire God Dragon, is also the real son of the King of the Fire Dragons, Ignea. So that, again, makes him much more, let's just say, mysterious, considering we didn't know much about Ignea's past, and considering that he's got a son as well, that makes everything much more interesting. So of course, next we're moving on to the Water God Dragon, Mercphobia. So now Mercphobia, of course, he was a peaceful God Dragon. He, of course, wanted peace, he wanted to protect his own city, but for some reason his power was stolen from him, and he couldn't control his own power. So whenever he went on like a little bit of a rampage, he was, let's just say, hurting a lot of his friends and his family, and he of course was unable to control that powerful power within him. So he was of course going on rampages. He of course did transform into a dragon, same as Ignea, and he did of course cause a lot of damage to the city that he was of course protecting. And he is very powerful, considering what we've seen in the Fairy Tail of 100 Year Quest. But you have to take this into consideration. More than half of his power was stolen, because Ignea even confirmed that more than half of his power was stolen. So technically, that means Mercphobia is so powerful that he might even rival Ignea, because technically Mercphobia is water, Ignea is fire, so technically water is better against fire. And let's just say, considering of course that we've seen only less than half of his power, and he was able to, let's just say, become so OP, I'm putting him at S tier again, ahead of Ignea, just because we're not seeing Ignea's full potential yet. And let's just say, of course, I hope to see his full power later on in the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. And finally, we have the one you guys have probably been waiting for, Selene, the Moon God Dragon. She is literally so OP that I'm going to straight away move her to S rank, because is she more powerful than Agnologia? Yes. So Selene, of course, she is the Moon God Dragon. She is literally so OP. She was able to travel through dimensions, which I will admit nobody else can do. And she is putting up such a powerful fight against Suzaku, against Natsu, and hopefully in the next coming episodes of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, we will finally see Natsu versus Selene. That will be an epic fight. But Selene, of course, she is a Moon God Dragon that is able to travel through dimensions. Do I have to say any more than that? She is literally so OP, and we've not even seen her full dragon form yet. I mean, we did see, of course, when they were in Edolas, but we didn't see, of course, when they're in Elantir. So hopefully we can see her full dragon form in Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, and I believe she is definitely going to be much more powerful than Agnologia. So yeah, so that is the tier list done. Let me know down below, of course, what you guys think of it. Do you agree with my rankings, of course? Do you think some people could be higher, some people could be lower? What do you guys think, of course, of this tier list? And let me know down below if there's anything you would change, if there was any people that you'd put up, or if there's any people that you put down. Let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you did, make sure to drop it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can join this awesome community that we have on this channel. Thank you guys for watching this video. Take care and peace.